Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how you can create your very own Rock Blaster game using Scratch. So in Rock Blaster you have a spaceship, you have rocks, and you need to shoot or you die. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and go to File, New, and we're going to start by making the background. I'm going to go ahead and delete the sprite, click on Backdrops, go to the Backdrops tab. And actually, you don't really need to draw your own backdrop. You can if you'd like, but there is already a preset star backdrop. So you're going to go to choose backdrop here. And if you search up stars, there you go. You should be able to get a pretty cool space backdrop. I'm going to choose stars. You can choose galaxy if you'd like. There you go. And I'm going to just delete this other backdrop. So we are focused on the stars. Let's go ahead and get a spaceship. So I'm going to hover over the sprite panel, go to choose a sprite, and go to spaceship, or rocket ship. There we go. All right, and we need to turn this rocket ship so that it's facing this way. To do that, you're going to go to costumes, click on the rocket ship, click on the rocket ship here, and then you see these arrows that look like they're kind of pointing in two directions. You're going to grab that and just rotate it. And you can see when I did that, it actually didn't rotate everything. So I'm going to do that again. To go back, you're going to undo and just make sure you click and select everything. So everything is selected, and then you're going to grab it and turn it. And that is going to turn everything. That looks much better. So that's what I'm going to use. There's other costumes you can use. I'm just going to use this one. Okay, going back to code. We're going to go and add 2 more sprites to our sprite library here that we're going to use. The first one we're going to use is the rock one. So go ahead and search up rocks. And the other one we're going to use is the button. So go ahead and search up button. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start by coding this button. Okay. So first of all, this button is very large, so we're going to make it smaller. Go ahead and go to Events, click on the green flag. When this green flag clicked, go ahead to go to Looks, and we're going to set it to about 10% of its original size. We also want it to hide when we click on the flag. We don't want it to be showing up when we start playing the game, right? So we're going to click on Hide. Okay. Now, we're going to use a feature called cloning, okay, for this button. Cloning is a really useful tool. It's basically when you use the clone function, you're going to create multiple copies of the same sprite. So we're going to go ahead and go to Events, click on When Space Key Pressed, and then we're going to go to Control, scroll down, and you're going to create a clone of myself. So when the space key is pressed, there's going to be more copies of this button. Okay. Now, once you create a clone, we're going to use this code here when it says when I start as a clone. So drag this, and we're going to tell this to go to a very specific location. So go to motion, and you're going to go to X and Y. So the X position is going to be -160. So we want it to start on the very left. And the Y position is going to be the Y position of this rocket ship. So to do that, okay, so to get the Y position of the rocket ship, you're going to go to Sensing, scroll down, and you're going to get this one. It says backdrop number of stage. Drag this, drop it into the second one, and you're going to click the Y position. Oh, you have to first click rocket ship, and then you're going to click the Y position. There we go. So when I started this clone, X value is -160, Y value is Y position of the rocket ship. Then we're going to go ahead and show it. So remember, it's hidden when we press the green flag, but When we press the space bar and we're creating a clone, we want it to show up. So we're going to click on show. And then we want it to move, right? So we're going to go ahead and move this 10 steps. So when you start as a clone, it's going to go to the position of the rocket ship and then show, move 10 steps. Now we want this to continue moving, right? 10 steps. We don't want it to just move 10 steps and stop. We want it to continue moving all the way across the screen, and then we want it to disappear, right? So to do that, we're going to use the repeat. So go to repeat until. Go ahead and put that around the move 10 steps. We're going to go to operators, and you're going to get the if is greater than sign, and then get the X position from the motion. Okay. And we're going to say, we're going to repeat this moving 10 steps until the X position is over 220. Remember, the edge of this stage this is positive 220 and this is negative 220 and 0 is in the middle. So when it reaches all the way to the edge, we want it to basically disappear, right? So we need to add one more block. Go to control and you're going to click on delete this clone and we're going to put it here. Okay, so we have now coded the button. Let's go ahead and now code the rocket ship. Before that, let's see if it works. Okay, so you can see here, as soon as I clicked this green flag, the button became really small. When I press the space bar, you can see the button is showing up from this section. This is negative 160, and it's actually kind of deleting as it approaches the end. So that's perfect. So now let's code the rocket ship. Click on the rocket ship. Go ahead and go to events. Click on the green flag. We're going to go ahead and create a variable, and this variable is going to be called score. Okay, so we want to set the score to 0 when we first start. So go ahead and click on score to 0, right? Let's go ahead and set the size of the spaceship to 40%. So go to looks, drag the set size to, and we're going to click on 40. Perfect. And we want this spaceship to start on this side. We don't want it to be in the middle. So we're going to go ahead and go to motion, drag the XY block, and we're going to set the X to negative 180. And the Y is going to be 0. So the spaceship is going to start on this side at 0. So let's go ahead and see. There we go. You can see when I click the green flag, score is 0, 40% right here. Now let's go ahead and code the up and down arrows for this. Go to control and grab the if then block. Go to sensing, and I want you to go ahead and drag the key space press block, and we're going to click the up arrow. So if the up arrow key is pressed, we're going to change the Y. So go to motion, grab the change Y. We're going to change Y by 10. And then we're going to do the same thing. Get if then block, snap it under here. If the down arrow is pressed, right, grab another key block. If the down arrow is pressed, we're going to change the Y again, except instead of positive 10, it's going to be negative 10, right? There we go. So if the up arrow key is pressed, it's going to be change Y by 10, and then down negative 10. Now we want this to repeat until this thing crashes into the rocks. So let's go ahead and go to control, grab a repeat until block, and we're going to pop a sensing touching rocks right here. There we go. Let's see if it works. Okay, so great. My rocket ship is moving up and down. Obviously, I need to code the rocks now. Now, if I press the space bar, you can see the rocket ship is producing, it looks like it's producing a little laser. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do the less. part, which is to code the rocks. So click on the rocks. Okay, so let's start with an events block. Go ahead and click on the green flag. Go ahead and go to looks, and we are going to show the rocks when the green flag is clicked. Let's set the size to a little smaller size. Go to set size to about 50%. And we want there to be more than one rock, right? So we're going to use that clone feature. So let's go to control, create a clone of myself, okay? And we want there to be maybe like 4 rocks. So I'm going to use the repeat, this one here, and I'm going to set it to around 4. Now, if you put more than 4, you're going to see way more rocks. So you can play around with this if you'd like. And it could make the game harder if you add more rocks, obviously, but you can use that to create levels if you'd like. Once you've done that, we want to hide the original rocks. So go ahead and go to hide. There we go. Let's try it. Okay, so we're not quite done yet. We need to code the rest of this so we can see the clones working. Now, let's go ahead and go to control again. When I start as a clone, okay, you're going to go to motion. We're going to go ahead and make these rocks go to random places, okay? And that's going to make the game way more interesting. So go to motion, grab a go to XY block. And we're going to have the rocks start at the very edge. So remember, the edge over here is 240. Over here is negative. So we're going to start it over here on the very edge, 240. And for the Y value, we're going to make the computer pick a random value. So let's go to operators, click on pick random. And let's pick a random number between negative 150 and positive 150. So that's telling the computer you can position the rocks anywhere in between these two edges. So it might start up here, it might start down here, depending on what the computer will randomly choose. We're also gonna have these rocks move, okay? So we need to create a variable. So go to variables, and we're gonna create a variable called speed. Now, for this one, we wanna make sure this speed is only for the rocks. We don't want the rocket ships to move either. So go ahead and click on for this sprite only, and then press OK. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to have rocks at different speeds. So that's why we wanted to click on for this sprite only. Go ahead and grab a set variable to 0 block, and we're going to set the speed to a random number. So go ahead and click on operators, and you're going to pick a random number between -2 and -8. And then we're going to go ahead and get a repeat until. So get a control and get repeat until block. And let's go ahead and get a sensing. Go ahead and grab touching. I'm going to put touching rocket ship. Now inside here, we're going to go ahead and code for this rock to move. So go ahead and go to motion, and you're going to grab a change X by here. And instead of changing X by a certain number, we're going to go ahead and change the X by whatever speed that the computer picks for a certain rock. So go ahead and go to variables, grab speed, and you're going to pop it in there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck speed. We don't want to see a little window there. Okay, so there we go. Now, we want to code the rocks. Let's kind of see. You can see here. Okay, so I don't know if you saw, but the rocks are moving at different speeds, right? Now, the problem is the rocks are getting stuck here once it moves. We want the rocks to continue to come forward, right? So we need to continue to code that. So here we go. Let's go to control, and we're going to get a if then block. You're going to pop it right under the change x by speed. So if the rock's x position, so grab an operator, grab a if less than block. If the x position, okay, is less, pop it in the first block, is less than negative 220, okay? So if this rock is way on this side, negative 220, then we're going to tell the rock to go to an x position that is 240. So it's going to tell the rock to go back on this side. And we're going to tell the computer to pick another random number between negative 150 to positive 150. So go ahead and grab a pick random block, negative 150 and positive 150. So let's see if that works. So you can see here now the rocks, if they reach the edge, they're starting all over on the other side, but in a different position. Okay. Now we want to code for what happens if we shoot the rocks with our button, right? So let's go ahead and grab, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to grab another if-then block, pop it right under the other if-then block. So let's go to sensing. If it touches button 2, we want this score to increase. So let's go to variables. We're going to change the score by 100 points. And then we also want this rock to disappear, right? So we're going to go ahead and tell the rock. We're going to tell the rock to go ahead and go back to a different position. It's just going to disappear and start over. So we're going to go grab a go to X, Y block. Again, we're going to make the X 240 and the Y is going to be another random number between negative 150 and positive 150. So pop that in there. Okay. And to make this a little bit more exciting, I'm going to add a sound. So right now the sound is pop. I'm okay with that sound. So I'm just going to add a start sound pop. Pop it in here. So let's go ahead and see if this works. Okay, so you can see when I shoot the rocks, they disappear. Now you can see the rocks are kind of getting stuck on the spaceship. So we are not done with this code. So let's finish up the last bit of this code, right? So we coded, it says repeat this until it touches the spaceship. Now what happens when it touches the rocket ship? Let's go ahead and add another sound. I'm going to add like a crash. Okay, I'm going to add a bonk sound, right? So we're going to create a code here. Go ahead and drop the start sound bonk. And then we're going to go ahead and create a backdrop that's going to say game over. So let's go over here to backdrop. Go to paint. Okay, and then go ahead and pick, I'm going to use a dark black color here. And grab the rectangle tool. Go ahead and drag this all the way. And I'm just going to fill the entire section here. And then get the text tool. And you can just pick a font and you're going to write game over. Now, this is the same color, so let's pick a different color here. I'm going to make my red. There we go, game over, and then you can adjust it. There we go. So now that we have a second backdrop, I'm going to call this game over, right? Okay, let's go back to coding. Go back to the rocket ship. Oh, I'm sorry, the rocks, right? So if the rock is touching the rocket ship, we're going to start the sound bonk and we're going to switch the backdrop. So we're going to go to looks, switch backdrop to game over, and then we're going to put stop all, go to control, stop all. Okay. So the thing is, we also want to make sure that when this green flag is clicked, the other star backdrop shows. So let's See, right now it's not showing. So we need to code that. So when the green flag clicked, we're going to show, let's go ahead and add the switch backdrop to block right here, right after the green flag, and we're going to switch it to stars. And that should do it. There we go. So let's, okay, we're trying it. There we go. And you can see right when I hit the rock, it's saying game over. And that's it. That is the basics of how to create a rocket blaster game. Have fun with this. There's lots of ways to mod this as well. So play around with it, add some interesting changes, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. And that's it. Thanks.